Thank you, Madam Chairman and Ranking Member, for holding the hearing today, and I welcome and thank the witnesses for being here as well. I'm especially pleased that we do have 4 witnesses here from the administration. Congressional oversight, especially over EPA as it rolls out rules that jeopardize the affordability and reliability of American energy, is critical. Americans are very uneasy about a plan being enacted via executive fiat and with what seems to be a total disregard for the costs associated with it. Owners of coal plants have announced that a total of over 55,000 megawatts of coal-fueled generating capacity will be shut down by 2025. Of this total, EPA regulations have been cited as a factor in the closure of over 45,000 of those megawatts, 303 coal units in 33 states. The American Coalition for Clean Coal Energy conservatively estimates that these shutdowns will cause the loss of up to 17,000 jobs. In 2012, National Economic Research Associates analyzed the impacts of several EPA regulations affecting coal-fueled electricity generation. Compliance costs for the electric sector average $15 billion to $15.7 billion per year. U.S. employment losses average 544,000 to 887,000 per year. Given EPA's recent new source performance standard proposal, which hinges upon unproven carbon capture and sequestration technology, Americans can only expect even higher energy prices and greater job losses. Countries that have made shifts away from fossil fuels are now finding such policy positions to be untenable. The New York Times reported last year, quote, "Europe faces a crisis in energy costs. In Britain, climate changes and charges add 19% to the electricity prices that large manufacturers pay. Steel production is down about 30%. Britain, where the average annual household energy bill has doubled since 2006, is approaching a tipping point where large numbers of people decide to switch off heat permanently." The Wall Street Journal reported, quote, "Support for the European Union's climate and energy policy eroded further Friday as the Czech Republic became the latest member to denounce subsidies for clean but costly renewable energy and pledged to double down on its use of fossil fuels. It followed Poland's declaration that it would use its abundant domestic coal supplies for power generation rather than invest in costly renewable energy facilities. Spain abolished subsidies for photovoltaic power generation in July, and the UK's power markets regulator last month froze solar power subsidies for the rest of the year." Close quote. A headline in the Telegraph read, quote, "Brussels fears European industrial massacre sparked by energy costs," quote. In the article, a European commissioner warned that Europe's Quixotic dash for renewables was pushing electricity costs to untenable levels. Likewise, Australia is learning tough lessons from its costly carbon tax. In the year after the carbon tax was introduced, household electricity prices rose 15%, and the number of unemployed workers has risen by more than 10%. Meanwhile, Australia's carbon dioxide emissions have actually increased and will continue to increase until 2043, according to their government. I would urge us to heed these lessons and to proceed with caution before needlessly damaging our economy and adding to the burdens of our citizens. Thank you, Madam Chair, and I look forward to today's testimony and questions.
Thank you, Senator.
Ms. Sutley, you spoke about the United States should have a global response because we're facing a global problem. And in your testimony, you mentioned working through the United Nations. What specifically can you tell us that the Obama administration is doing in that regard, in working through the United Nations, in your words?
Well, we participate in the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change, which involves, I believe, over 190 countries. the U.S. Continues to be a participant in that, and the current activities are around developing a post agreement for post-2020, addressing climate change with the aim of reaching an agreement in 2015 about what that might look like. So the United States, as many other countries, are engaged in those discussions right now.
You know, what I'm looking at are specific actions. You say that to leverage more ambitious action by other countries, that the administration needs to step forward. I know it's always helpful to work with other nations. It's always helpful to have conversations. But I want to know specifics. What are we doing to help other nations? Are we investing in resources? Are we providing scientists? Or, what are we doing? And what's involved in the cost? Or are we just in conversations right now?
Well, there are a number of different efforts underway, both bilaterally and multilaterally, addressing a number of the drivers of climate change. For example, and perhaps the administrator can talk a little bit more about this, working through existing international forums to deal with hydrofluorocarbons, which are have a global warming potential, as well as working on issues around clean energy and promoting clean energy and technologies around the world.
Okay, perhaps you and the administrator could provide me with some examples, and if there are costs involved, I'd be interested in knowing that as well.
Yes, certainly.
Thank you very much. Also, Ms. McCarthy, the EPA regulations on coal-fired power plants are required by law to be technologically viable and commercially available. While EPA has insisted publicly that carbon capture and storage technology is technologically viable, there is serious doubt that EPA officials actually believe this to be true. I'm going to highlight a 2012 email exchange that was produced through a Freedom of Information Act request between John Coquit, I believe it's pronounced, head of the Sierra Club's Beyond Coal campaign, and EPA's Michael Gu and Alex Barron, both in the agency's Office of Policy at the time. Coquit forwarded an article to Gu and Barron regarding your comments on proposed CCS regulations. In the article, you are quoted as saying, quote, while it's a significant economic lift, the proposed standard will provide investment for new technologies. CCS is technologically viable, unquote. The headline then read, coal to remain viable, says EPA's McCarthy. In forwarding this article to EPA's Barron and Gu, Mr. Coquit wrote, pants on fire. Do you have any idea why he would say pants on fire? We all know the saying that goes with that. Do you have any idea what that supposedly is about?
No, I don't.
Do you stand by your statement that, I believe you said it earlier today, that the CCS is viable?
Very much so.
The EPA redacted Barron's very brief comment then to Gu in response to another article 5 months earlier from Politico with the headline, will EPA's greenhouse regs wipe out coal? And EPA did redact that comment, apparently no more than 3 or 4 words in total on the media article as deliberative, which on its face is a curious use of that process exemption to keep information from the public under the Freedom of Information Act. By doing so, EPA nonetheless indicates that it is deliberating whether its climate regulations will wipe out coal. I think the American public deserves to know, does EPA believe that the CCS is viable? Again, could you answer that?
Senator, when I was assistant administrator, I believed that the information supported that CCS was viable and was appropriate as a basis for best system of emission reduction. As administrator, I retain the same assessment of the facts.
Can you tell me why that email was redacted?
I have no idea, Senator. I have no idea.
Could you look into that and provide me with a copy of that email?
I certainly will look into the issue. If they were appropriately redacted, then that is fine. But I certainly understand that there may be questions raised. But there's a lot of jibber jabber in an agency that's that large. But I want to assure you that the people making those policies and making those technical judgments were the people that were investing their time and providing input into this rule.
I know we all receive emails and we have no control over that, but it is disconcerting when information like that does become public, and then we have a government agency going through a process of really blocking that freedom of information that I would hope would clarify statements like that.
Senator,
so I would
we
look
certainly want to be
that.
as forthcoming as we can. It's an issue that has come up before on this committee. We'll do our best job to provide you these emails regardless, and only redact when it's appropriate to do so.
Thank you so much.
Okay, that was 7 minutes and